Hi everyone, welcome to week 16 of our SHSAT training program. So this week's English topic is going to be parallel structure. And so that's basically the rule that in a sentence, everything you say, every verb has to be in like the same grammatical form. So for instance, this sentence, my favorite things to do are to walk in the park, read, and riding a bike is incorrect, right? Because the things that you're listing, their favorite things to do, you're not listing them in a consistent grammatical way, right? You're saying to walk in the park, to read, and riding a bike. So to walk in the park and to read are infinitive forms of their words. So the infinitive form of a verb is basically just like an unconjugated, unchanged form of a word. So to walk in the park is unchanged because to walk is the infinitive form of the verb walk, and then read is the infinitive form of the verb read. And then you have riding a bike, right? Riding a bike is a gerund form. So gerund is basically a verb that ends in ing. So like walking, reading, sleeping, eating, all of those are gerund forms of their verbs. And now you have an inconsistency, right? Because you're listing the first two things you like to do in their infinitive forms and the third thing in its gerund form. So this is a grammatical inconsistency, so it's incorrect, right? To change this, you either have to change the first two things to their gerund forms or the last thing to its infinitive form. So the two possible changes would be, my favorite things to do are to walk in the park, to read, and to ride a bike. Or you could say, my favorite things to do are walking in the park, reading, and riding a bike. But you can't have it the way it's listed here. Okay, so now we're going to look at some examples. The admissions committee looks for applicants who not only possess outstanding academic records, but also demonstrating leadership in extracurricular activities. So now look at, it's listing things that they look for in an applicant. So the first thing it says is applicants not only possess outstanding academic records, and then it says, but also demonstrating. So this is incorrect because possess is the infinitive form of the verb possess. But demonstrating, right, is the gerund form of the verb to demonstrate, right? So this is an inconsistency because it starts with infinitive and then goes to gerund, which is incorrect. So to change it, we have to change the demonstrating to its infinitive form. So it's not A and it's not C. The correct answer is B, but D also has an infinitive. The reason D is incorrect is not because of the verb, but because of this and they also, right? So you have to have, so not only suggests that there's like some sort of contradiction between them. So it doesn't make sense to say not only possess outstanding academic records and they also demonstrate, because not only should be followed by like a but or like something like that, like a contradiction. So the correct answer here is B. So question 4. According to the city planner's modern design, the new downtown park will feature a large community amphitheater, a winding botanical walking path, and an interactive water fountain will be built for children. So notice here that it's listing things that the new downtown park will feature, right? And then it's just listing out verbs by them or nouns by themselves. So it has a large community amphitheater, a winding botanical walking path, and then it says an interactive water fountain will be built for children. So we want the structure to be the same. So the structure is it's just listing nouns. Here it's listing a noun and then it has a verb as well. So it's not correct the way it's written here. So the correct answer is B, right? C is incorrect because building is again a noun. It's a gerund form of the verb to build, but we don't want a noun in our answer choice. So it's not C and it's not D because this will have is also a noun. So we don't want that either. So the correct answer to 4 is B. And we're going to do one last question. So during the intensive summer internship, Marcus spent his time organizing historical archives, drafting corporate press releases, and he conducted market research. Okay, again, so Marcus spent his time. Let's look at how he spent his time. He spent his time organizing historical archives, drafting corporate press releases, and he conducted market research. So notice that the first two things that it lists out are gerund forms of their verbs, right? Organizing is a gerund form of the verb to organize. It ends in ing, so it's a gerund. And drafting is a gerund form of draft, because drafting is, again, ending in ing. And then it says, and he conducted market research. So this and he conducted is not a gerund form. This is just a normal past tense form of the verb to conduct. So we obviously want to change that because we want the structure to be consistent throughout the whole sentence. So It's not and he conducted market research. It should be, we should change this conducted to its gerund form. So it should be conducting market research. Conducting market research is answer choice C, so that's the correct answer. So general tip for questions like this is you want the verbs to have the same ending, right? These gerund forms all end in ing, right? Past tense, if it were to be in past tense, like 95% of verbs in the past tense end in ed, like conducted, right? In the present tense, you know, all verbs, like it's either they end in s or they just end in their infinitive form. So like he conducts or they conduct, for example, would be like the only two forms. Like all conjugations of the verb conduct in the present tense either end in an s or are just the word conduct, right? So you just want them to basically have the same ending, and that's how you know that the structure is parallel or consistent. So yeah, that's about it for parallel structure. If you have any questions, as always, you can leave them in the comments. We'll be sure to answer them. And otherwise, we'll see you in the next video.